Hello and welcome to Budget with Brian, and today we're going to look at an increasing number of fake Makita tools. Now if I was Makita right now, I think I would be a little bit worried about all of these tools that some are good, some aren't, that are popping up on websites like AliExpress and Wish, etc. What I wanted to do today was just run through the ones that I found on there with the idea of maybe getting one or two of these in to see if they're any good. Now, if you're not already a subscriber, we'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button and the bell so that you can get notified when our new videos are uploaded. If you are thinking about getting some of these items, you can find all of those links to those products below. So the first one up is the impact driver. So this looks a little bit like a Makita DTD 154Z, that's without the battery. Has some very similar specs. Yes, it is brushless. We did get one of these in, and there's a link to the quick view of this device that we got here. Now the Makita is £120. It's built very well, it's got all those great features. But this one at 25 seems to be really quite good value. I would imagine, assuming that it doesn't break on you in the same way it broke on me, which is the chuck or the bit holder there failed. Some of the other YouTube videos that I've watched about this particular device, which led me to pick one up to put on the channel here, all had reasonable reviews. So next up's the impact wrench. Again, very similar to a Makita DTW 300Z, DTD 300Z. The street price for the Makita in the UK is £199, but again, this one comes in at just about 25, and it is effectively exactly the same as the impact driver, except they've changed out the bit holder at the front to have something that will drive sockets. And out of the two, I think this one might be a little bit more robust. So next up's something a little bit more simple, just a regular cordless drill. Again, it's boasting that it's brushless. Seemingly where they are saying it's brushless, it actually does turn out to be brushless, which is encouraging. This one's looking to be close to a DHP 483 Makita, which retails at £93 street price maybe. And again, for some reason it's £25, the same as the others. Next up's one that's got me a little bit concerned, which is the DHP 481Z combi drill. Now this one looks all the part of being a complete rip-off of the Makita original, which you can pick them up for around £150 for the Makita original, and this one's coming in at around 30. Now the reason why I'm a little bit concerned is typically these don't come with the side arm. This thing is probably going to produce an enormous amount of torque, and without that bracing arm you could easily damage your wrist. Now if you hunt around, you can find this item listed with the side handle, and I would suggest if you went anywhere near any of these tools that's the one that you might go for. Next along we have something that is not like any of the Makita tools, except that it is in that teal color. It's an SDS drill, and these seem to be offered at somewhere around £43. Now we move on to the items that cut. So we've looked at all the drills, now we're going to have a look at the tools that cut. So the first up is the circular saw. This looks close to being a DHS 680Z. Now Makita have these at about £154. This one's listed in here at £60. Now again, me personally, I would feel unhappy about buying something that's an unbranded circular saw. I would worry about that failing and causing some severe damage or injury. But again, it's about half the price, if not a little bit more. Next along we've got the jigsaw. Now again, this looks a little bit like a DJV 182Z. Makita retail that at about £170. This one's coming in at 35. Not much to say about this one. Again, personally, I think for the type of cutting that this tool does, I would want to have a Makita original. Next along we have the grinder, and this is a little bit like a Makita DGA 506Z, which again retails at about £154. This comes in at 30 and looks a lot like a lot of the mains powered grinders that you see, very inexpensively. I paid £15 for one just recently. Again, I've got a video about that coming out. I'll link to that above. It's got the same handle, it's got the same guard, etc. And I think realistically, for the type of job that these do and the punishment they get, the £15 corded one would probably be where I would go with this instead of the cordless one here. Something common across all of these tools is that they don't seem to care too much about that third connector onto the battery, which is checking battery's temperature, and they will just carry on drawing and pulling amps out of those batteries even when they're overheating. Another reason to be wary about using these types of tools is that they could destroy your genuine Makita batteries. Next one along is the recip saw. This again looks a lot like a DJR 183Z. Price difference starts to narrow here a little bit. So Makita charge somewhere close to sort of £92 for one of those, and here they're coming in at 50. So again, I kind of feel it's probably worth buying the Makita instead of the knockoff. Moving along quickly, we also have another unusual shaped recip, which is very cheap at £23, but I couldn't find a Makita equivalent that looked like it. The last cutting tool that I'm going to talk about here today is a multi-tool. Now this looks a little bit like a DTM51Z, body only, £120 from Makita. This one comes in at 32 with some accessories. Personally, I prefer the 12 volt Makita multi-tool just because it's a little bit lighter when you're using it in awkward places. It does seem to eat through batteries very quickly, where you can put the 5 amp hour battery on. And again, I think I'd worry about batteries overheating in the non-Makita tool. Next is probably one of Makita's most copied tools, which is the router. Most of the reviews I've seen for this particular one really feel the build quality of this is not good at all. Makita part number I think this is closest to is a DRT50Z4, retailing at £168. This one comes in at 34, but for a device that you need to be treating with utmost respect to keep hold of all of your bodily parts, I really wouldn't want to use a tool like this one. The next tool is the Planar, and some of the reviews I've seen are saying that this actually is built as well, and in some parts better, than the last generation Makita non-brushless version. Now these are coming in at around £60 and the Makita original is at 130. Quite often you see Makita tools on a special somewhere, maybe it comes with a case, maybe it comes with a few extras or something like that, or just cheaper price, and I don't really feel £130 for a quality Makita tool is not unreasonable. So again, I sort of feel I'd probably go with the Makita original, even though this is half the price and has great reviews. But what do you think? Would you buy some of these tools? I'm interested in your comments below. The next item's a little bit unusual. It's a rivet gun, and I couldn't find a direct Makita version or something that looked like this. This is coming in at sort of £47. Obviously Makita do make rivet guns, which are significantly more expensive. Next along is a tool that makes absolutely no sense to have copied whatsoever because they're not expensive to start with, and that's the blower. This one looks to be close to a DUB 185Z. Makita retail those at about £50. I've seen them somewhere closer to £40. I think that's what I paid for mine. It is actually a very useful tool for doing all sorts of cleanup jobs in actual fact, but the non-Makita copy here is coming in at about 31, and again I don't see why I would not buy the Makita original in this circumstance. Next along we've probably got something which is quite indistinguishable from the real thing in actual fact, and that's the chargers and batteries. This is probably where Makita are losing out the most, because I'm fairly certain we've all bought aftermarket batteries and chargers for our tools. Doesn't seem to make a huge amount of difference, but I don't think I'd trust an aftermarket charger to my branded Makita batteries. This single charger here is close to a DC18RC. Makita charged £34 for that, sounds reasonable. And here we can pick these up for about 14 the copy. If you want to go a little bit more fancy, you can get one with a display. Makita don't make one with a display, so this one comes in at £22. And lastly, we have a twin charger, which is close to the DC18RD. We had a review of one of those just recently. Please see that link above. I paid about £50 for mine, but quite often their street price is about £63. This one here comes in at £30. Now the aftermarket batteries, I think we've all got a viewpoint on those. There's hundreds and hundreds of manufacturers making those cases and putting all sorts of different types of cells in there. The copies always seem to not quite tell the truth about how many amp hours they really are, what kind of batteries they've got in them, or anything. However, they're so cheap, sometimes it's just good to have one of those types of batteries just to get another tool working. And I certainly don't have any problems buying aftermarket batteries. The last item's probably a bit of a no-brainer actually, because I can't really see it's going to hurt anything. It's a torch. The closest Makita is a DML 812. It's about £120, which is quite expensive really for a torch. But this one is 23, and it might be as good. After all, it is a very simple device. It's a torch. So I did find a couple of other items, which I won't go into too much detail. I found a Bluetooth speaker, and I also found some clippers. Whatever will they think of next? If you're not already a subscriber, please click that subscribe button and join the B team. We have plenty more videos to come. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and don't forget, subscribe!